Right now, you're probably thinking about your to-do list, your goals, or maybe even what's for dinner. But here's the thing, your time is running out faster than you realize. The average person lives to about 30,000 days. So if you're 30, over a third of them are already gone. And the scary part, most of us waste hours every day without even realizing it. So before you scroll away, ask yourself, is how I'm spending my time today how I want to spend my life? Because once it's gone, you don't get it back. So you don't need more time. You need fewer distractions because the real secret isn't managing time. It's managing your attention. Hey friend, I'm Christy, a board certified nurse practitioner, health coach, and trauma survivor. Welcome to Trauma Free, where I help you change your mind and change your life just like I did. Today, we're going to explore how you can manipulate your perception of time, making your remaining days feel even more longer. And the research on how to do this will change everything you think you know about living a full life. Let me ask you this. Why did a single summer when you were 8 years old feel longer than this last year of your adult life? The answer is simple. Back then, every day was new. You explored, you played, and you discovered. But now, most of your days are spent being on autopilot with the same routines. Most people think that it's because time speeds up as you age, but it's been discovered that your brain doesn't actually experience time in real time like you think. Believe it or not, you're really living in an illusion because your brain constructs your experience of time in retrospect by analyzing the memories that it records. When you were 8, everything was new, like your first day of school, your first bike, or your first time seeing snow. This encoding detailed vivid memories every single day. But now, you drive the same way to work, you eat the same foods, and you have the same conversations, making your brain go into autopilot where it barely records anything. And the crazy part, the longer you live like that, the faster time vanishes. Because when nothing stands out, your mind just stops keeping track. This has been proved in an experiment where people freefall from a 150-foot tower while measuring their perception of time. And in those moments of intense fear, the people reported the fall lasting much longer than it actually did. This means you have a choice. You can sleepwalk your way through your remaining days and watch your life disappear before your eyes. Or you can trick this system and make every moment feel like the summers of your childhood. I bet you didn't know this, but mild discomfort and challenges expand your experience of time. Because when you're struggling, like solving a complex problem or having an uncomfortable conversation, your prefrontal cortex creates neural pathways. Think about the last time that you binge watched TV for 4 hours versus the last time you spent an hour trying to master something difficult. That binge session of TV you probably barely can remember, but that hour of struggle, it felt long, challenging, and memorable because difficulty forces your brain into recording mode. In fact, people who regularly engaged in productive discomfort, whether it be cold exposure, learning new skills, or physical challenges, they reported their weeks feeling 30% longer than people who prioritize comfort and ease. And the ancient Stoics understood this because they practiced voluntary struggles, because they knew that discomfort creates presence, which creates lasting memories. There's something called episodic encoding hierarchy, where essentially your brain has a priority system for what memories that it decides to keep. And your brain only creates detailed, long-lasting memories for first times, like your first relationship, your first job, or the first time that you were heartbroken. Everything else, all those repeated experiences, they get compressed into semantic templates. which are basically generic and forgettable patterns. Think about your morning routine. Can you remember Tuesday morning's breakfast from 3 weeks ago? Of course not, but you can probably remember every detail of the first meal that you ever cooked for someone that you loved, even if it was decades ago. In an experiment, people performed the same task 100 times, then performed 100 completely different tasks one time. When they were tested later, they had no memory of the repeated tasks, but they had clear recognition of each new experience. Researchers have found a simple fix for this. Just 3 small new experiences a week can slow time back down. One group kept their usual routine: same coffee, same commute, same takeout. Another group, they switched it up. They tried a new food, took a different route, and explored an unfamiliar store. And after a month, the new control group, they truly felt like time passed slower and remembered way more about their lives. So you don't need more time. You just need to stop living the same day on repeat. This is because of episodic richness, where each small new thing forces your brain out of autopilot and into recording mode. A new restaurant creates new spatial memories, and taking a different route activates new neural pathways. Try this by introducing one new micro action daily. Drive a different way. Order something you've never tried. Each tiny first goes into your memory bank, and memories are how your brain calculates how much life that you've actually lived. I'm about to share research that will completely rewrite how you think about every relationship in your life. And it comes from the most comprehensive study on human happiness ever conducted, where researchers tracked people for over 85 years, following them from college through their entire lives, analyzing everything from their blood work to brain scans to their death certificates. And they discovered the quality of your relationships at age 50 predicts your physical health at age 80 better than your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, or your genetic markers. People in satisfying relationships had sharper memories, stronger immune systems, and lived an average of 7.5 years longer. And loneliness, it doesn't just make you sad, it rewires your brain for constant threat detection, because chronic loneliness triggers the same genetic responses as physical attacks, flooding your system with inflammation and stress hormones that accelerate aging at the cellular level. Here's a productivity secret that will erase everything else that you've learned about time management. Most people are trying for the wrong reasons. They're obsessed with managing time when they should be managing energy. In an experiment, researchers had 2 groups, with Group A working for 12 hours in a typical scattered energy draining state. Group B worked for just 4 hours, but during their peak energy levels. The results weren't even close. Group B outperformed Group A in quality, creativity, and output by over 300%. And researchers also discovered that you're not just one person throughout the day. You're multiple people operating with different cognitive capacities, emotional states, and decision-making abilities. Morning you has willpower and optimism because your prefrontal cortex is fully charged. Cortisol is at optimal levels, and your brain's default mode network is quiet. Morning you makes plans, sets ambitious goals, and believes anything is possible. But evening you is running on decision fatigue, showing that your mental energy depletes with every choice that you make. So by the evening, you've burned through your willpower, your glucose levels are unstable, and your brain craves easy dopamine hits. This is why evening you sabotages morning you's best intentions. The evening version of you orders takeout instead of cooking and sets unrealistic goals for the morning version of you to fail, creating a cycle of self-sabotage. But high performers, they make their most important decisions and do their most challenging work during their prime times, which are usually the first 2 to 4 hours after awakening. So map your natural energy rhythms by tracking when you feel most alert, creative, and focused. Then protect those time frames for your most important work. I'm about to expose the greatest destroyer of wealth in modern society, and it's not what you think. It's the psychological trap that turns high earners into time prisoners of their own success. In an experiment, people were presented with a hypothetical choice. Would you trade 10 years of your life for $10 million? The results were overwhelming. 89% said absolutely not. The idea of selling a decade of life for money felt wrong. But when researchers looked further into their lives, they found that 74% of those who rejected the hypothetical trade were actively living it in reality. They were working 70 to 80-hour weeks, sacrificing relationships, their health, and experiences for years, basically trading their lives for money at a rate far worse than the hypothetical offer. This is called temporal discounting, when we systematically undervalue our future selves. Because when people think about this version of yourself, the same neural regions activate as when you think about strangers. This is crazy, but research has shown that once you hit a certain income threshold, around $75,000, additional money has virtually no impact on your daily happiness. Yet people continue chasing money and sacrificing everything that actually promotes their well-being. This trap has 3 stages. First, you work more to afford a better lifestyle. Second, your lifestyle expands to match your income. And third, you get trapped working more to maintain the lifestyle you thought would free you. You become a prisoner to money and losing more time. Material purchases like cars and clothes create a hedonic adaptation, where the initial happiness fades quickly and soon you're back to your baseline. And even worse, these objects often become sources of stress, maintenance, and comparison with others' newer versions. But experiences, they are psychologically appreciated. That month-long vacation in another country, it gets better with time. Your brain fills in gaps with positive details. It connects the experience to your identity and creates stories you'll tell for decades. You wouldn't say I'm someone who owns a BMW, but you do say I'm someone who lived in Paris, because experiences integrate into your sense of self. Research shows that buying time by paying for services that free up hours for meaningful activities creates more happiness than buying things. Housekeeping isn't a luxury, it's an investment in your most valuable asset, attention. I want you to calculate your real hourly wage, not just your salary divided by hours, but after taxes, commute time, and work-related expenses. Then evaluate, is this purchase worth X hours of your life? That $200 dinner, that's 8 hours of work after taxes. And that luxury car payment, that's potentially 20 hours monthly for 5 years. I'm about to teach you a strategy that will feel wrong compared to everything you've been taught about success. But this is secretly practiced by every person at the top. It's called strategic incompetence, because the moment you demonstrate that you're good at something, you become the go-to person for that task, which creates competence traps. But high performers don't just work on important things. They delegate unimportant things to prevent those tasks from taking up their time. Because trying to excel at everything leads to being stuck where your brain can only maintain peak performance in a limited number of areas. Because achieving mastery requires 10,000 hours of focused effort. If you're spending time on low-value tasks, you could give to someone else or even eliminate, you're stealing hours from the activities that could make you better. I want you to imagine something that will shift how you make every decision for the rest of your life. You're 90 years old, lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by the people you love the most. Your body is failing, but your mind is clear. In these final moments, what memories surface? What do you feel grateful for? What do you desperately wish you had done differently? The number one regret that most dying people wish is that they had the courage to live a life true to their self, not a life for others. The second most common regret is they wish that they hadn't worked so hard. Temporal perspective is how thinking about your future self affects present day decisions. And people who regularly imagine themselves at the end of life make dramatically different choices about how to spend their time, energy, and attention. But most people, they get trapped in the focusing illusion, where we overestimate the importance of whatever we're currently focused on. Time perspective changes throughout life, and when people become more aware of their death, they automatically prioritize emotionally meaningful experiences over achievement-oriented ones. Because the closer you get to death, the clearer your priorities become. So ask yourself, what would that wise older version of you want you to focus on? What would they tell you to stop worrying about? What relationships would they urge you to prioritize? Let your future self become your guide. I'm about to reveal the most powerful force in human transformation, and it's so subtle that 99% of people completely miss it. Small, consistent actions create chunking, where your brain converts conscious behaviors into automatic neural loops. The basal ganglia, your brain's habit center, doesn't distinguish between the size of the behavior, only its consistency. This means your brain treats a 5-minute daily reading habit identically to an hour-long reading session. Both get encoded as automatic behaviors, but the 5-minute version has a 95% higher completion rate because it bypasses activation energy, which is the mental effort required to start it. Because small, consistent actions create positive addiction loops. Each completion triggers a dopamine release that makes you crave the next repetition. So you become addicted to the behavior that you're trying to build. But present biases cause you to overvalue immediate results while undervaluing long-term gains. A 5-minute workout feels insignificant today, but compounded over months, it transforms your body, energy, and your confidence. Small daily wins have a more profound impact on motivation and performance than occasional big victories. Time as you experience it is a construction of consciousness, and consciousness can be altered because the time you actually experience has almost no relationship to objective time. A minute of terror feels like an hour. An hour of flow feels like minutes. Your brain doesn't measure time. It creates it from the experience. This means the quality of your attention determines the quality of your time. When you're fully present, whether you're learning something, challenging, or connecting deeply with another person, or pursuing something meaningful, your brain creates temporal density, where more experiences get packed into the same time frame. You can't add days to your life, but you can add life to your days. Every moment of presence, challenge, and connection creates more long-lasting memories. And the highest quality human experiences occur when self-consciousness disappears. When you submerge yourself completely within the activity, like in flow states, where time becomes irrelevant, and through deliberate practice, inattention, and presence, whether through meditation, challenging skills, or deep relationships, you can increase your capacity for flow experiences. So if this journey through the science of time has shifted something in how you see your remaining days, release the illusion that time is slipping away. Because now you know the truth. Time is waiting to be created, and your time is now. Your life is now, and your transformation is now if you choose. So until next time, stay trauma free and take care.